Hey, Wade. What's going on, my friend? It's good to see you. I can't hear you. You're on mute, but I don't think you have a microphone, right?
Hello, 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 hello.
Don's here. What's up, Don? Oh,
Not much. How you doing?
good, good. How was everybody's holiday? Was it awesome?
Mostly.
Mostly. Okay. Okay, fair enough.
There
Batting over 500, so that's good.
you go.
That's right.
That's it.
We got Charlotte on here as well. I hope we get everybody back from the holidays. Oh, Paul's here. Good news. Well, we got some exciting stuff for you today. We're going to be talking about one of the real estate investing strategies that I feel like we lost during 2020, and I think 2021. I'm already seeing some signals that it's coming back. So we're going to be talking about Airbnb today. What's up, Paul? I'm glad everybody found the new link. We got Jen coming in. Good. Seeing all the loyal patrons coming back. That's awesome. Good, good. Well, guys, I wanna share with you while we're getting kind of rolling here. I want to share with you some of the stuff that I've been working on the last couple of months. So, some of you know this, some of you don't know this yet, but Maylee and I have launched a web series that's very similar to what you'd see on something on HGTV or one of those type channels. It's a fix and flip TV show, and we've launched it on YouTube. We've partnered with a production company out of Provo, Utah, so about an hour south of where Maylee and I live, and it's going well so far. I mean, we're just we understand it takes some time to build up a following on something like that, but it's done really well. We're close to 100 subscribers on our first two episodes. We are, we're launching our third episode, which Wade, by the way, is 2700 East. That's a deal that you were in on.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, I can hear you. That's awesome. Welcome, my
Cool.
friend. Yeah. So our 2700 East episode, we're going to go film some stuff for that up at the ski resorts this weekend. We have to because of work. We got to go stay at a ski resort. So
It's a law.
So we're gonna go up and film some of that stuff, and then we should be launching that probably in the next couple of weeks. We're getting really good at it. So they're getting faster and faster, and doing 8 flips at a time right now. We got plenty of content. So I'm excited.
Cool.
And then shortly after that, we're going to be doing one where I'm going to be featuring the speed banking concept. And then I believe, Charlotte, our Harrisville property will be the episode after that. So episode 5 should be our Harrisville property. So motivated in more ways than one to get that thing done. And a face I haven't seen in a minute. Latoya, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm so grateful you're here. How was your holiday? Good? You're on mute. I can't hear you.
It was amazing. We had a tragedy happen in the family, but my aunt passed away, but the family just got closer, which is what kind of normally happens during these times. And it was absolutely amazing. So bittersweet, but it was great.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, it's good to see you here.
Good to see you too, Mitch.
I'm glad you found the new link. That's awesome. I had Tyson send those out for me. So we should be seeing Tyson. Tyson's monitoring our old channel, our old link. So he's making sure that any of the stragglers that didn't get the message are going to make it to our new link. Guys, this is the link that we're using for all of 2021, unless you hear differently from me. So plan on it. Save this link. Delete the old one. This is the new link. I have kind of some behind the scenes. I like to share with you what I can. So our education manager, Knowledge Source out of Australia, fantastic company, had a fantastic experience with them. However, we decided to part ways this year. So I didn't re-sign my contract. And so we're going to be changing over some of the assets For now, your education is going to be hosted in the same place. If you start to see that there's any problem with that, Knowledge Source has agreed, and it was in the contract that they would continue to allow access to that. Guys, never hesitate to reach out to me if you find that you can't access the education. I have secured a backup server just in case. So if you need help transitioning over, if you're having problems logging into the old education portal, let me know. Your purchase of the education included lifetime access to that stuff. So I want to honor that. So just stay in contact with me if there's any changes that need to happen there. I see Tyson's here. What's up, Tyson? Welcome, my friend. You're on mute.
Okay,
How's
I'm here.
Tyson doing?
Good. I'm sorry I'm late today. I was at our Denver Street fix and flip. I was just, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go.
Oh boy.
So then I have to ran back. Everyone on the call, Mitch and I just picked up a new flip on in a place called Sugar House in Salt Lake City, and it's a pretty cool one. I saw it for my first time tonight.
Yep. It's cruising. So, and Tyson, you don't know this yet. We just found a home run of a property in Olympus. So this should be a
Olympus Cove?
Olympus Cove. Yeah.
Woohoo!
It's a $1 million ARV on a 3,000 square foot house, 3,100 square foot house. How crazy is that? I'm seeing Latoya's face. What? But that's, it comes down to location. I mean, if you were to pick this house up and move it even 3 miles west, it'd be worth, 400,000. But because of the location, because of where it's at, it's sitting on the on the foothills of the mountains here in Salt Lake County, and couldn't get any more prime of a location than that. So I'm thinking
Right
my peeps that are coming out of the 2,700 flip are looking at it too. I know, Wade, that's one of the ones you're looking at jumping in on.
Right.
All right, Coach Dan's joining us. It's awesome. Okay, well, let's dive in, guys. So, look, I've got some content prepared to fill the whole hour and a half, but I think these calls, you guys can see my content and just hear me talk nonstop in the education, right? These calls always go better and are designed for your interaction. So if there's a point where we want to stop or we want to, talk about even something that's slightly off topic, let's do it. Dan the man, welcome. How are you?
Hey, thanks. I am doing good. Good to see you, Mitch.
Good. Good to see you, my friend.
And I don't want to single anybody out that's on the call here, but it's great to see Latoya. I haven't seen her in a long time.
I already singled her out.
Good to see
We've
you.
already made her blush 2 or 3 times. So
All right. Awesome.
Dan.
Haven't talked to you in a while, so that's awesome.
yeah, that's good. Good. Well, guys, let's dive in. Let's talk about, so one of the things that I saw in 2020, when we were going through the pandemic, I mean, obviously, I think the year 2020 was defined by the COVID-19 pandemic. We saw a couple of things happen to the real estate market. One of them was that we saw a whole bunch of forbearances come on into play. And this is a case where, that provides us with a lot of leads to go out and pick up rentals. But what do we do with those leads, right? There's a lot of exit strategies once we own a property. So the question is, have we bought this in the mindset of long-term, or have we bought the property in the mindset of short-term? What are we going to do with it, right? Now, because of the forbearance, because of people losing their jobs from COVID-19, it's created this bubble of pre-foreclosures that I've talked over and over and over about. And obviously during 2020, the thing to do was to go and long-term rental those properties, or seller finance those properties, something that was a little more of a long-term strategy. Sorry, I got to make Tyson a co-host here. Tyson, how do I make you a co-host, my friend? I see how to make you the host, but I still want to be able to share my screen.
Mitch, that sounds good to me.
Do you know how to make you a co-host?
Not from
This
my
is-
perspective.
This is the problem with using my personal account is now I have to manipulate all this stuff. I have
Yeah.
no idea what I'm doing.
Well, here's how you do it. You click on me, and then, yep. So now I'm a host, and now I can make you a co-host.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay,
welcome.
so let's get back to it. So we've got all these properties. You know, a lot of them would go subject to because of what's going on in the jobs market. And in 2020, my advice to you would have been long-term rental. Just do the traditional thing. We're going to see a lot of people entering the rental market. But now coming back into 2020, I'm starting to see some confidence build back up in the market, which we knew we would, right? The COVID-19 thing wasn't going to be a forever thing. In the year 3000, you know, it'll be a footnote in the history book, right? But already we're starting to see some of that confidence come back in the market. And one of the things I'm seeing explode is vacation rentals. So this is an opportunity for us to go out and start taking advantage of people getting out more, people wanting to go, you know, it's 2021, 2020 is over. We want to go on vacation. We want to go see some stuff. So that's why I wanted to kick the year off talking about this strategy, because I think we can get in front of the market on a lot of these things. And you know what? Even if we see another blip, let's say the vaccine is delayed and we see another blip of people that are quarantined and people that are having to stay inside and the vacation rentals go down, a great backup strategy for our Airbnb properties is long-term rental, right? So we're going to talk about a few different things today. Again, feel free to come off of mute if you feel so inclined, and let's have a conversation because these calls always are a lot more interesting if it's more than just me talking, right? So let's talk about this. So we find this property, we pick it up subject to, what do we do with it? Well, we can use the Airbnb strategy to go out and list this thing on sites like Airbnb, like VRBO, handful of other sites that we'll talk about, and be able to start capitalizing on the vacation rental market. What does that mean? Well, vacation rentals historically perform way better than traditional long-term rentals do. For example, you may pick up a property where your mortgage payment is $1,700 a month and you're able to rent it out for $2,100 a month in a long-term rental scenario. Whereas in the Airbnb scenario, maybe that same property you have for $1,700 a month, you can get $3,000-$4,000 a month in cash flow from renting it out on a nightly basis. This is something that we talk about a lot in the multifamily concept. And right now we're working on a multifamily track because that's something I've been putting a lot of time into as far as my personal portfolio goes, is multifamily rentals, multifamily fix and flips. So we're coming out with classes for you guys. All of you that have paid for your education are going to get those for free. At no extra charge, right? You've already paid for it. So this concept is buy in bulk, sell in singles. Right. Let's go back to the idea of a vending machine. Let's break this down into a simple concept, right? A vending machine concept. Obviously, we can sell a can of pop nowadays, right? With inflation and everything, you can sell a can of pop for $1, right? 75 cents, $1. But that can of pop, if you go and buy that on a flat that comes in 24 or 50 cans, you're paying 10 cents, 15 cents a can. Now, if you were to go to a vending machine, you'd pay $1 and then you stick it in your vending machine and you charge $1. That's a break-even proposition. But what we're doing is we're buying in bulk and we're renting out on a single basis, right? Multifamily works a lot of the same way. One of the multifamily strategies that we use is we'll go buy, some apartment complex that's 8, 9, 10 buildings that have 8 units in each building or 4 units in each building. And then we'll sell each individual building off for a lot more than what we bought them for in the bulk package, right? So we buy our cans of soda in a flat of 50 for 15 cents a piece, and we sell them one off for $1 a piece. And that's how we make our profit, right? Pizza, same idea, right? You pay $5 for a whole pizza and it's got, 8, 10 slices in it. You go sell those slices for $2.50 a piece per slice, right? So if you're buying pizza by the slice, it's more expensive than buying the whole pizza. It's the same concept. We scale that up to the idea of real estate. Now, when we're talking about a single family, we're talking about time is what we're splitting up, right? So we're buying a building, we're buying a single family unit on 30 years time. We're buying the time in bulk, right? So our cost is going to be a lot lower, and then we're renting it out by the night. So this same concept applies. If we're buying it on 30 years time, but we're renting it out by the night, our nightly expense to the mortgage company might be something like 60 or 70 bucks, right? But our income might be something like $200, $250, $300, right? So that's how the nightly rental market works. And that's the concept that we want to take advantage of as we're doing these things. Now, keep in mind, while we're talking about acquisition on these types of properties, it's not limited to the properties that you own, right? It doesn't have to be a property that you picked up subject to, or that you went out and got a mortgage on and did traditional financing with. It can be a property that you leased. As long as that lease allows for you to do this, and Melee and I have done this. We in fact, one of our best Airbnbs we ever did a couple of years ago, we cash flowed $4,000 a month in a luxury apartment complex in Salt Lake City on a property that we leased. We signed our name on the dotted line that saying committing to the rent. We furnished it for a few $1,000s, and then we at Wade, I think you were involved in some of that at the beginning of it.
Right.
So and then we rented it out on Airbnb for $350, $400 a night based on the season, right? So this is a concept where you can make money on real estate you don't even own, right? Just real estate you control. And that really, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's not always about owning the real estate. Sometimes it's more important just to control the real estate. And that's true in negotiations. That's true with your contract process. And that's definitely true in this air cash flow strategy that we're talking about tonight. So any questions thus far on what we've covered? I want to make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind here, because we're going to move fast. All right, good. Okay.
Have you ever done any kind of subject to with a property just because it hasn't sold? So not because they're in a financial situation where they have to, they're going to have it repossessed by the bank, but it's like,
Use it as a plan B or a plan C?
Well, yeah, like maybe it's been on the market for 2 years and they haven't been able to sell it. Have you ever gone into a situation like that and done a subject to?
Wade? Yeah, Wade and I are in on a deal right now. We call it 3990. It's one of the few properties that we've had to convert into from flips into a rental property. This particular property, we were planning on flipping. It sat on the market and didn't sell. I don't know why. It's beautiful. Well, I actually think I do know why. The agent that represented us, my deal on that particular property, that we bought this property before Maylee was an agent. Now Maylee has specialized in being a listing agent, which means she's really good at selling properties for sellers, right? The agent that I had list this was the same agent that I had find the property for me. Problem is, he specializes in being a buyer's agent. So I wanted to stay true to my word. I let him list the property. It sat on the market for, 6 months. We finally decided to turn it into an Airbnb, and we've made, some decent, 2020 was tough. But about mid 2019, we decided to turn it into an Airbnb. We made some profit there. 2020 hit, we kind of turned it in. We played some different games with it. We're just now. Here's the thing about real estate. Here's what I love. And you have to remember this, because you're going to have situations just like this one that Wade and I faced with this 3990 property where, you may think it's the end of the world because plan A didn't turn out, right? And you're going to feel that. The first time that happens to you, you are going to be, just at the end of your rope and stressed out of your mind. And it's just part of it. Now, with that said, our original ARV on this property was $825 in mid 2019. We're going to be listing this property within the next week for $900,000. So the thing I love about real estate, oh, well, there's a lot of things, but one of the things that I absolutely love about real estate is time heals all, right? So this deal that didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to, we made a little bit of income on, obviously Wade hasn't lost his money. None of the other equity partners have lost their money. But what ended up happening with this one is that we gained $75,000 in appreciation. So not only did we get a little bit of income from Airbnb, we're also going to make a lot more on the flip than we originally made. So yeah, absolutely, Charlotte, to directly answer your question, Airbnb is a fantastic plan B or plan C, for your short-term strategies like fix and flip or wholesale or whatever the case might be. So does that answer your question? Do you have any follow-up questions on that?
I don't think that was my question at all, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but that's
Misunderstood.
good information.
Okay, good.
I meant like if you were buying real estate from someone else who could not sell their house and didn't have the strategies that you have. So they may just be frustrated they couldn't sell it. Have you ever gone in and had them be willing to do a subject to so that you could just take over their mortgage, they would move, and maybe even you would have to become like maybe they wouldn't walk away for just what they owed on the property, but then they would finance the rest of it and have you pay them after the mortgage is paid off. Just something creative in the sense that maybe there's sellers out there who are just frustrated with the process because they haven't sold their house.
That's totally doable within the realm of, I'm going to answer what I think was your question again, sir. And let me know if I'm off base on this, but I think this will be good information. But that's part of that falls within the umbrella of subject to. Let's say they owe $100,000 on their mortgage, but their house is worth $200,000, and they're just not willing to walk away from all that equity. So they say, look, I'll sell it to you. I'll even sell or finance it to you for $160,000. But that's the lowest I'm willing to go. And you say thumbs up. Absolutely. Let's do it. So part of that seller finance note is that now you're paying a mortgage on $160,000, right? Their mortgage is only on $100,000, but you're paying them the mortgage on $160,000. Basically, they get to pocket the difference. One thing I would always do in those types of scenarios is make sure you have a third-party escrow company set up. So I would not pay the previous owner your payment directly, because then you're trusting that they will hopefully pay the underlying mortgage. And, I'm sure intentions are always good, but we're talking about 360 payments stretched out over 30 years. Something's bound to happen, right? So get a third-party escrow company involved, make your mortgage payment on that $160,000. The escrow company will make the payment on the underlying mortgage and then distribute what's left over to the to the previous owner. So those types of deals, absolutely, you can structure that way. Airbnb, I think, is a fantastic strategy for that type of thing. If you're able to pick this property up, one other thing you might look at, Charlotte, if this is a real life scenario that you're dealing with, you may want to look at partnering up with them. If they're not open to the idea of, obviously subject to is the best case scenario, right? Because then you own the property, and that's fantastic. But maybe they're not totally keen on the idea of carrying the mortgage, there's some opportunity there still. Talk to them about an equity split. Say, hey, look, you have the property, I've got the knowledge, let's split this 50-50, let's go throw it on Airbnb. I will take care of managing all that, meaning you, Charlotte. You'll manage all that, or hire the property manager, someone like Lauren Havens that recorded our class, and then you split whatever profit 50-50. I mean, I think that's a fantastic strategy. Obviously, your costs in that case. So you're obviously going to have the cost of the mortgage. You're going to have the cost of property taxes and property insurance. You're going to have the cost of the Airbnb fee, maybe furnishings. You may have to furnish it a little bit. There's going to be a cost there. So obviously your costs are all paid first, and whatever's left over at the end of every month, that's what you end up splitting. But I think that's a fantastic strategy. Now, did I get it right this time?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Glad to hear it. No, that's a fantastic question. I think I think both answers that I gave to the question, both the one that I misunderstood and that those are really good concepts to help you start focusing on this stuff, because there's a lot of opportunity out there, whether it's as a primary strategy or a secondary strategy, whether you own the property or not. There is a lot of opportunity for the Airbnb strategy. There's a lot of money to be made, and people are scared. They don't know what to do. And the advantage that you guys have is that you're far more educated than most people out there. Right now, you may be feeling, and I know this is a common thing for a lot of students who haven't gone out and done a few deals, that don't have a few deals under their belts yet. You may be feeling like the imposter syndrome, right? Tyson and I had a conversation about this the other day. Imposter syndrome is where you're like, but I don't have the experience yet to go in and start acting like an expert. Imposter syndrome is something that will hold you back. It's something that will give you analysis paralysis. Remember, with the education that you guys have purchased, with what you've gone through, with this call every week, with the coaching that you've had from myself and from Dan, you guys are far more educated than 99% of the people out there when it comes to real estate investing. So have that confidence. You may not have the dozens and dozens of properties under your belt yet, but that will come. But it's not going to happen unless you gain the confidence to go out and actually start doing it, right? You got to start somewhere. Everybody starts with a one. So this is a fantastic strategy. Whether we're talking, I'm glad you brought that up, Charlotte, because whether we're talking about going out and actually purchasing a property, be it via subject to or traditional financing or whatever other means that we talk about, or a property that you don't even own, right? That you're just bringing the knowledge to the table and partnering up with somebody, or you're just signing a lease, right? And taking on just a monthly payment as a liability, and then going out and turning that around, putting it on Airbnb or VRBO. These are all fantastic strategies that you can start taking advantage of. So one of the things to remember as you're going through this process, now, when I say you can do this on properties that you don't even own, that's something that we can put behind flashy lights and like, do real estate on properties you don't even own, right? And it makes it feel like, hey, yeah, any property out there, I can do it on. And it's not necessarily true, right? For example, if you're going to do a lease, you have to remember that you're subject to certain governing bodies, right? We're all subject to the federal government. We're all subject to our state government and their laws. We're all subject to our county government and their laws, and our municipal government and their laws. And guess what? If you're doing this if your plan is to do this strategy on a property that you don't own, guess what other rules you're subject to? The property owner, right? Because you don't own the property. So if there's a property owner, for example, one of the problems we ran into, I talked about this property, that there were a few months where we cash flowed $4,000 a month. And then this was, by the way, the first and second Airbnb property that I did. And then once the management company caught wind of what we were doing, well, they didn't want us making that kind of money. They should be making the money, right? So they shut us down. And so here I was, subject to the management company of this luxury apartment complex in Salt Lake City, saying, hey, it was great while it lasted, but see you later, right? They actually held us to the rest of our lease. But for the last 3 or 4 months, we weren't able to Airbnb it, so there was no income, right? So luckily, we'd made enough. It was enough to cover the remainder of the lease plus some. But those things happen. So you want to make sure, and I'm teaching this from experience, right? I'm teaching you from the things that I've done wrong. Make sure that you're aware ahead of time. Don't fly under the radar. I've talked about in every one of the classes I talk about, I bring it up on this call all the time. The only way to do real estate investing is to do it at scale. Now, if you're going to do it at scale, flying under the radar is a really hard thing, because if you're having to hide everything you're doing, right? If you're having to pretend like you're not Airbnb-ing a property that you're not supposed to be Airbnb-ing, then that takes work, and it takes attention, and it takes focus. You can't do that on 10 properties. You can't do that on 100 properties. So do everything legit. Make sure that you set the right expectations with the property manager ahead of time. Make sure you're sitting down and saying, hey, look, this is the kind of lease I need. This is the addendum to the lease that we need to draft up. And I'm happy to have my attorneys draft that up. And then you guys can just revise it and we can sign it. But this is what I'm trying to do. and you're gonna get no's. This is a no business. We've talked about that, right? We're gonna get a lot of no's, but it's okay because the more no's we get, the closer we get to a yes. There are in every city apartment buildings that are struggling, duplexes, fourplexes, even extended stay hotels that are struggling to fill to capacity, right? And we can come in and provide a solution to that. So look for the opportunities. Look for the places where you can come in and provide a solution. Remember that as real estate investors, we are problem solvers. Your job becomes easy when you have the frame of mind that we're problem solvers. That's all we're trying to do, is we're trying to come in and solve people's problems and create a win-win situation for both of us, right? We can make a really nice living off that. So if we're finding those areas, maybe you approach it. Maybe it's one that's doing okay, but you come in and say, hey, what is your hardest unit to lease? What is that headache unit that you just cannot lease? Maybe it's haunted, or maybe it's, whatever. Maybe it's got this big pillar in the middle of it. I don't know. What's the hardest unit to lease? And I'll be like, oh, it's unit 405. Right? Great. I'll lease unit 405 with these conditions. And then you stay, you lay out your plan. I'm going to Airbnb it. This is what I need. I need the neighbors to be aware. I need, we're happy to meet certain accommodations. I mean, obviously noise can't be out of control, but you need to understand we're going to be having a different person here every night. However, you will have a 1 year or 2 year signed lease on this unit that's been a headache for you up until I walk through your door. Right. And those are the kind of things that allow you to be able to go in and negotiate in this way, is come in solving their problems. Right. So we want to approach it in that way. Now, Charlotte, with the example you brought up, someone's listed their house and they've had a hard time selling it for the last however long. Right. Subject to is a fantastic opportunity, I think, for both of you. It's a win-win situation. Have you talked to them at all about subject to on that property?
Are you asking me? I haven't spoken to them about it. No, they're just trying to sell it, and it's been a while on the market.
I guess I should have asked if it was a real property first, or if you,
Yeah.
it was a hypothetical.
It's a real property, and I've just been eyeballing it. I haven't really asked them too much about it, but
okay. Yeah.
It was a thought that came to mind when you were talking about it. I hadn't even really thought about it before.
Yeah. So my direct advice to you, just echoing kind of the general concept that we just talked about, remember to always come in solving their problems. Come in with a solution to the problem that they have, right? Obviously, best case scenario for you is owning the property. So start with subject to. If they're not cool with that, and you know what? Start with just taking over the mortgage or the mortgage payment. Don't take over the mortgage, take over the mortgage payment, right? And then maybe they'll say, hey, look, we just have too much equity. We're not willing to walk away from. Say, okay, well, and then, kind of work your way up to your maximum. In the example we use, they owe 100, it's worth 200. Maybe your maximum is 160. I'm willing to go up to 160. Well, that's still not enough. Okay, well, then I've got another idea for you. Here's my strategy. Here's what I was going to do with the property once I owned it. Why don't we do it together? Let's partner up. I've got the background, I've got the education and the knowledge and the network to be able to make this happen. You've got the house. Let's split it 50-50. Let's go make it happen. So that would be my plan on that, but approach it from a perspective of solving their problems, right? Because then we get people to listen. I love it. We're seeing more and more people hop on the call. This is awesome. Yeah, Dan.
Hey, I was just going to comment a little bit as well. We talk about looking at opportunities, like you said, to solve problems. And that's the bottom line, helping people out. And as Mitch said earlier, we can help people out because the knowledge we've gained from the program. And ultimately, based on what Charlotte's brought up, we're just talking about creative ways to help people do that. And there's just different terms for that. But if students on the call were interested in learning more about kind of what Mitch is talking about in one general sense, and it doesn't mean one individual might call it one thing and another individual might call it something else, different terms for the same thing. But generally speaking, we might call subject to where as Charlotte brought up in the beginning, someone's in trouble, they want to just walk away from the property, and you say, okay, listen, I'll make your back payments and I'll buy the thing from you, and I'm going to take over your payments. And you write that agreement, and Mitch has the details of it, of course, because he does it all the time, of, hey, I'm just taking over their payments and doing subject to. So we might call that subject to. But if someone was interested in more in what Mitch is talking about, in the example of working out with the owners and saying, okay, what if I quote buy the property from you for 160, you owe 100, and they say, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, great. Well, instead of me going and getting financing, we can jump right in quickly and let's work out an interest rate. And so you're going to make more than the 160 because I'm going to start paying you 160 with interest. And ultimately, you do the same thing Mitch says. You take it to a source that's going to be a third party that's going to make sure the checks go right. But old school wise, we might call that a wraparound mortgage, where you and the seller are creating your own little mortgage, and you make the payment to, you have an agreement with the owners that you're making this new mortgage payment, but the old mortgage for 100,000 stays in place, and so you've created a new mortgage that quote wraps around the old pre-existing mortgage. Yeah. So anyway, I just kind of bring that up because if people are like, well, how do you do that? Because sometimes you can, if you just call it subject to, you could twist that into all kinds of scenarios, and a little bit more specific might be call that a wraparound mortgage.
A wraparound, absolutely, yeah. And just so you know, there's no extra paperwork on your end as the investor. I've never actually had to write those mortgages. I have the title company do it. Cost me a little bit extra. I mean, maybe an extra $100 to have it written up. Your title company, your real estate attorney, they can write that up. And that's what you want, because you're not a title company. You're not a real estate attorney. That's not what this is about. That's not what this education's about. This is about you going out and finding properties you can add to your portfolio and executing strategies that are going to make you money. The legal part of that is not part of the wheelhouse of being an investor. So have your title company do it. Have your, explain to your title officer or your real estate attorney, based on the state you live in, explain to them what you're trying to accomplish. If they don't understand it, you have the wrong attorney. You have the wrong title company. Go find somebody who's worked with investors, right? Because this is straightforward stuff. This is, guys, before mortgages existed, this is how properties were purchased. I mean, let's talk 100 years ago. There wasn't mortgages like there are today. It wasn't commercialized. This was, you'd go and you'd make the owner monthly payments with the agreement that you pay it off over the course of 20 or 30 years, right? So that's how this was done. This is older than the mortgage industry itself. It's just not the standard anymore. So finding the attorney, finding the title company that can get this done is paramount. But Dan, you nailed it. I mean, that's, we want to make sure that we're covered if we're going to be doing this type of transaction, right? So now, one of the things, as we talk about going out and building up a portfolio of these types of properties, because again, we're not going to get rich off of one, right? A one might give you an extra $300, $500 a month, but I don't know about you, $500 a month is not retirement money for me. Could be $1,500 a month. That's still not retirement money, right? So I want quit my job money. I want retirement money. I want, $1,500 per property or $1,000 per property, but I want 100 of them. I want 200 of them. I want 300 of them. And so we have to practice, even on our first one, what it's going to look like when we're buying our 100th Airbnb property, right? So don't fall into the trap and the idea of, well, if I manage this myself, right? Because then what happens is you're spending hours a week. I mean, I'm talking 12, 15, 20 hours a week managing your single Airbnb property, which is 12, 15, 20 hours a week that you could be spending going out and finding that next one, right? So even on that first one, don't make the mistake of not hiring a manager. I know it's tempting. Every one of you are going to be tempted by this, right? Make sure that you get a manager in place that can manage cleanings, can manage bookings, can manage disputes, and community. And by community, I mean feedback and those types of things. Make sure that you're getting those things in place. Now, the one that I always use is Lauren Havens. She's the instructor on our Airbnb management class. Check out that class. We've got her information on there. Absolutely someone I would use. She works nationwide. So regardless of what state you're in, she can help you. You know, it goes back to the old analogy. If we're wanting to become a golf legend, then we're not going to practice our swing in the batting cages, right? Because if we're practicing a baseball swing, that's a totally different thing than becoming a golf legend, right? We're wanting to become wealthy off of real estate. Well, if we're wanting to become wealthy off of real estate, then don't practice in a way that isn't going to make you wealthy. Don't practice in a way that's going to limit you to 1 or 2 or 3 properties. Even just for the concept of let's practice the right way, get a manager in on that first one, right? And then all those other things of being able to spend that time you would have been spending on managing the property by going out and finding another one, that's just going to expand that portfolio and help you hit your goals. So hopefully that makes sense on that. Okay, so when we're talking about acquiring a property, remember that the same principles apply, right? If we go back to the finding system, you know, we've got our lead generation, we've got our quick analysis. When we're talking about quick analysis, your number one thing, whether we're talking about a flip or whether we're talking about a rental or whatever the case might be, the first thing you have to do when you're running numbers on a property is pull comps, right? So comps are going to be based on our exit strategy. Right. So if it's a flip, we're just going to sell it. So we're going to pull sold properties in the neighborhood that have been remodeled. And those are going to be our comps. And that tells us what our after repair value is going to be. And then we work our math backwards from that. We subtract out the construction. We subtract out the holding costs. We subtract out the taxes and the agent fees. Right. It's the same on a rental property, except our comps are not what can we sell it for, because that's not our exit strategy. Our exit strategy is what can we rent it for? That's our end game. Right. So what can we rent it for? Well, comps. What are like properties renting for in that area? Right. And we get that number, we average it out, and then we work our math backwards. It's the same in Airbnb. Right. It's the same in the air cash flow strategy, whatever platform you're going to be using. We want to find out what are other like properties, similar size, similar number of bedrooms, similar number of bathrooms, similar finishes in the same neighborhood. What are those renting out for on a nightly basis? Right. So that will inform us as to what we can charge to be competitive in the market, because we're not going to get customers if we're not competitive, right? And then we work our math backwards from that. Now, usually, I've rarely seen when we have an active Airbnb that we don't have some sort of ancillary problem on, like COVID, right? Or like the situation I told you about where the management came back and stopped us from doing it. If we've got an Airbnb that we know is going to be performing, I usually run my occupancy at 15 nights a month. Now that's low. I've never seen on an active Airbnb, I've never seen 15 nights a month. Usually it's 20, 25, 28, or even all 30 to 31 days a month that it's rented out. But to be safe and to be conservative, I run my comparables or my numbers. I run based on 15 nights. So if we've got, for example, if we've got 300 nights, $300 a night, and times that by 15 nights, that gives us $4,500 a month that we're working with, right? So $300 a night, I mean, we can go out and find an apartment, a nicer apartment that we can rent out for $300 a night on Airbnb, that'll cost us, $1,800-$1,900. And if we're bringing in 45, let's say maybe all in our costs are $2,300. Well, we're cash flowing $2,200 a month, right? At 15 nights. So if we're anything beyond 15 nights, that's just cream. Right now we're getting up to the 3,000 and 4,000. Now you can see why $4,000 a month is very doable, right? And that's in the high end, really nice luxury, maybe right downtown in the shopping district kind of property, right? If you're at $60 a night, maybe you're at $150 a night, it doesn't matter. This scale is a floating scale because those same properties also are valuated. The rent is valuated, or the mortgage is valuated based on the property, and the number one factor is location. Like we just talked about with this flip that Wade's looking at, Charlotte's looking at jumping in on it. It's worth $1 million being a a 3,200 square foot house because of where it's sitting. If we were to uproot that and move it to a different neighborhood, it might only be worth $400,000, right? So, location has a big part to play in comparables. And that's why we only will look within maybe a mile radius if we're getting desperate for comps, right? Same thing applies to the Airbnb. We're just going to do it nightly instead of monthly, like we would a long-term rental, or instead of a sale price like we would with a flip. Any questions on how we run comparables and how we get our numbers run there? Okay. Right.
I have a comment about comps.
Yeah.
Today, a wholesaler gave me a seller financed property with a reasonable down payment and a reasonable monthly payment, but it still wasn't a deal. You know why?
What's that?
It's because his sale price is $30,000 above the value of the property. I'm trying to think of, it's not ARV, it's not CRM. CMA. What's the acronym I'm looking for, Mitch?
CMA, comparative market analysis.
CMA. Yep. Maley found it for me. Yeah, he's asking way too much. And it's not going to cash flow as a rental, which means it wouldn't cash flow as a short-term rental. So I'm walking. I think this was a valuable lesson because often I've thought, and I think a lot of people think, that if it's seller financed, it's more likely to be a deal, or it is a deal. I thought that when I was brand new, that seller finance is a deal.
Not the case.
Even if it's more expensive, but not always the case. Nope.
Now with a wholesaler, this is a little bit more difficult to do because a lot of times with wholesalers, the contract's already negotiated, right? So you're buying the contract. And so you have to agree with all the terms that are in that contract. However, if you're working with the homeowner directly, a couple of just quick tips here. I know I've shared this story probably multiple times on this call, but we had a scenario where a guy was stuck on a price. He was stuck on 244. We needed to buy his house for like 180 in order to make it work, right? But he was stuck at 244. That's what he wanted to buy, or that's what he wanted it for, to sell it for. And so I said, okay, because it's long term, we've got more things that we're working with than just price. In a flip, you're just working with price, right? But a long-term real estate hold, you've got price, you've got monthly payment, you've got term. And by term, I'm talking the number of years that they're holding that note, and you have, or that they're amortizing that note, mind you, Tyson, because you may have a 5-year balloon, but a 30-year amortization, right? And you've also got.
Sorry, it was a 2-year balloon.
2-year balloon. Okay, yep. Perfect. But you know what? Had this not been a wholesaler, had this been a homeowner, you could have come back to the homeowner and said, you know what? Your price is above what the market is saying your house is worth, but I will give it to you if you allow me to pay you on a 40-year amortization. Because if they go out 40 years instead of 30 years, that drops your payment, which for the sake of your, and a 2-year balloon is kind of a short, maybe if it's a 5 or a 10-year balloon, this would have worked. Obviously a lot of different scenarios. I'm just being hypothetical with you here, but remember, because you have those other things to work with, it doesn't really matter. In the market that we're dealing with, and even if we were to see a decline, we know that real estate comes back in 5 to 10 years, right? So, the property is going to be worth that eventually. But if you can get him to change, and remember, he's not a bank. You're asking him to act like the bank, but he's not held to the same rules that a banker is. So you could have him do a 100-year amortization, and that's going to cut your payment into 120ths instead of 306, or excuse me, 1200ths instead of 360ths. Does that make sense? On a 30-year, you're paying 360 payments, whereas on a 100-year, you're paying 1,200 payments, or 40 or 50 or 60. Adjust that amortization to whatever you need it to be to, adjust that interest rate to whatever you need it to be to, and come to them and say, oh, great, your price, my terms. And then you pitch him on, hey, I'll give you exactly what you're asking for, but here's my terms. Does that make sense? No. Obviously not.
Yes, that does make sense. The difficult situation about this is, like you said, the terms are already negotiated, as is the price. And so there's not the flexibility with the wholesaler in this situation to be like, okay, let's change this up. I wish there was, but this is like, take it or leave it. Here's my terms, here's my price. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Maylee and I have a file. We call it the tickler file. We have a file that we put properties in that we want, but there just was a couple of things in negotiation that just made it, so we put it in the tickler file to look at once a week, usually on Mondays, and we just check on it. Has it sold? Has it sold? Has it sold? Because if it hasn't sold, we can come back and say, hey, our offer's still on the table 3 weeks later, right? When all the excitement of them listing their property and thinking they were going to get what they wanted out of it, and no offer has come through that was worth it, then I come back to it and say, hey, and also keep in mind, if that wholesaler doesn't sell that property, chances are they're just going to release the contract, right? So all of a sudden that property will go back on the market, and then you can jump on it. So I would create kind of your own version of the tickler file where you're kind of tickling these properties every week, 2 weeks, whatever the case might be. Check back on that one, because it might be one where you could come in and work exactly that type of negotiation, but directly with the homeowner instead of through a wholesaler.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Cool. All right. How we looking? We're 10 minutes to the hour. All right. So any other questions on what we've covered so far? Talked a lot about acquisition. We've talked some about management of these Airbnb properties. Is there a direction with the last 30-ish minutes that we have left on the call? Is there a direction you guys want me to go, or just want me to keep going through the through what I have prepared? It's up to you guys. You guys drive the call here.
Mitch, I have a question on the high end ones, like the one that you're getting ready to flip. That obviously, looking at it, you're like, what the heck? I would never pay $1 million for that.
I saw your chat and made me chuckle.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And so, but is the expectation of the quality of that particular flip? So you had a system, you use the same finishes, you use the same light fixtures, whatever that might be, your system in the past that I've understood it to be. Wouldn't it have to change a little bit for something like that that's high end?
Yeah, it is going to change a little bit. So this particular property, Charlotte, we're going to be doing everything to it. But the nice thing is we're not going to be moving any walls, right? So if you watched the last episode of Flippin' Sexy Real Estate, our web series, I talked about in that the difference between a quick flip, a cosmetic flip, and a down to the studs flip. This is a cosmetic flip. We are not taking off any sheetrock. We're not. I mean, we're doing things like redoing the roof, but you know what? That's easy. Like, we hire a contractor, they come and do it, right? We've got to replace the furnace and the air conditioning units. So it's going to cost a lot to do this property, but it's a very simple, straightforward flip because it's a cosmetic flip. Now, some of the things are going to change. Our template's basically going to be the same, right? We're going to be putting the same wall color. We're going to be doing the same color tones. We're going to be doing quartz instead of granite, right? We're going to do waterfall quartz, but that's a simple thing. We're just going to be taking what our template is, finding a comparable quartz. Obviously, quartz is upgraded. Finding a similar color and pattern in quartz, and then just having the granite guy do a waterfall feature off the end of the island there. Those cabinets, actually, we're going to be refinishing. Those are very expensive Euro cabinets. We tearing those out and replacing with something of equal quality would be a waste. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sand them and paint them. We're going to paint them white, and then we're going to spend the money that we save on cabinets, and we're going to upgrade our appliance package. So normally on a Nordstrom flip, I'm doing the high-end Samsung package, the stainless steel or the black stainless, Samsung backless range, gas or electric based on what's available. you know, with the fridge and the microwave and the whole combo kit that matches. We're going to be actually upgrading beyond that, because now we're scraping this $1 million point. We're going to be doing a wolf with the money, like I said, with the money we save on just rehabbing the cabinets versus replacing the cabinets, or excuse me, refinishing the cabinets. We're going to put that extra money into buying a wolf range and a Sub-Zero fridge. And so just the finishes are what's going to be nicer. Now, in that same episode, this is kind of fun because you guys will be able to see that. So Charlotte, Wade, if you guys haven't seen that yet, go watch that second episode on YouTube of Flippin' Sexy Real Estate, because that same staircase that we put in the Almond Street flip, we're going to be putting that into this flip. This has suspended stairs in it. It's kind of the architecture is kind of a mid-century modern. So it's got those floating treads for stairs. We're going to be replacing it with a single steel stringer and those alder treads that you saw in that episode. So, you know, little things like that we're going to go above and beyond. And, you know, the profit's going to be anywhere, I think, just doing this off the top of my head because I don't have the pro forma in front of me, but I think it was anywhere from 97 to 140,000 in profit, or 120,000 in profit or something like that. So it's just the finishes, Charlotte. We're not changing the paint. We'll upgrade the carpet a little bit, right? But it's going to look the same. It's going to be the same color because it goes well with the color scheme. You know, and then appliances will be upgraded. So basically it's the same template, just a nicer version of the same template. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Yeah, sorry. Yes, it does.
That's the very thing that's going to take is we're buying it for 600,000, right? And we're going to be selling it for $1 million, possibly more by the time we actually get it on the market. So that's the difference. I mean, this is why flipping is lucrative, right? Because the difference between a $600,000 house and $1 million house is the finishes, the stuff that's in it, right? It's the same bones. We're not doing anything to the bones, right? But we're updating the furnace, we're updating the roof, we're updating the carpet, we're painting the walls, we're updating the appliances, and we're going to put $200,000 worth of stuff in it to increase our value by $400,000. So it's, you know, it's this is a good one. This is one of the best I've seen in my career. I'm really excited about this one. And I say that not because it's the most money I've ever made on a flip in my career, but because it's so straightforward. There's not, I mean, we're not doing an addition to it. We're not building a garage in the back. We're not moving any walls. We may move, you know, we were talking about bumping out the master bathroom wall a little bit, but that's not structural. It's just, you know, bumping out a wall to make some more room. So very straightforward cosmetic flip. Rarely do you find one that you're going to make 6 figures on. So it's a good one. It's a good one. I love seeing all your beautiful faces here at the beginning of the year. I was a little bit skeptical, it's because we all get busy at the beginning of the year with taxes and, you know, starting off work again and coming back from the holiday. I was worried we were gonna have 2 or 3 people on the call, but I'm so happy that all of you are here. Okay. Well, let's keep diving in here. So we've talked about management, we've talked about acquisition. We've talked about ways that we can creatively finance these properties, whether it's, you know, through something like subject to, or you know, something like leasing instead of buying, where you just control the property versus owning the property. Let's talk a little bit about security. So security is something that you want to stay on top of because of the fact that you've got different people that you don't know coming to stay at your property. Right. We actually had a situation where one of our Airbnb clients came and smoked meth in one of the properties we own. So we had to remediate meth out of a property that we Airbnb, right? And how frustrating is that, right? But you know, it's okay. You can't, and you need to be aware of the laws in your state. But for example, in Utah, I can put cameras in the common areas. You obviously can't put them in the bathroom, you can't put them in the bedroom. But you can put them in you can put them in the kitchen, you can put them in the front room, right? You can put cameras in the common areas to protect your property. You can put alarm systems. We recently had a property that got broken into, right? Well, on episode 2 of Flippin' Sexy Real Estate, we talked about the squatter that's staying in our place, right? So having security is important. Being able to track who's coming and going is important. And there are products on the market that allow you to have multiple pins. There's doorknobs, there's deadbolts that allow you to have multiple pins, sometimes biometric, sometimes using your smartphone as the key, right? You just Bluetooth connect to it and it opens the lock. But set up your security in your properties so that you can see who's coming and going, whether that's visually, whether that's just from an information standpoint where you can see in a database, okay, Tyson came this day, Wade came this day, Tyson left this day, Wade left 3 days later, that kind of thing. You want to be able to track who's coming and going because things are going to happen. You're going to have stuff that will get stolen. That's part of it, right? But there's always a drawback when we can make, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month off of doing this strategy. There's going to be some drawbacks that come along with it. You can plan on, right? So some of that's going to be, well, you're going to have people throwing parties at your place, right? So if the place gets ransacked, cops get called, whatever the case might be, you've got a record of who it was that did it, and you can direct them to the responsible party. Platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, carry insurance. So if stuff happens and you can track who it was, if you call up and say, hey, someone in the last year and a half smoked meth in my property and I want you guys to cover it. They're like, well, who was it? Well, I don't know. It was in the last year and a half. So one of 4,000 people that stayed at my property. They're like, well, good luck. It could have been you. I mean, if you don't have any evidence that it was one of our guests, it's on you as the owner, right? So get in front of that. Start tracking that stuff right away, because then you can say, hey, our cleaning crew found it on this day. This was the most recent tenant that stayed. The cleaning crew, I have a written statement or an email from them saying that they know for a fact it wasn't there because they cleaned it after the previous tenant. So it was this person on this day. Here you go. And they can go find that person and you get compensated for it, and their insurance covers the damages. That's what you want. With Airbnb, with short-term rentals, you're going to have damages. You're going to have stuff stolen. You're going to have stuff broken. You're going to have stuff contaminated. You're going to have parties and all sorts of stuff, right? That's just part of it, but prepare yourself against it. The best thing you can have is insurance, whether that's through Airbnb, VRBO. I would also have your own insurance. There are companies out there now that will write policies for vacation rentals. It's been around long enough now that there's now a market for vacation rental insurance. Make sure you carry it. Insurance is the investor's best friend. We know that people are going to ruin our stuff. We know it, right? So carry the insurance to make sure that you're protected against those eventualities. Okay. So just the security, protecting yourself, protecting your asset. It's just as important. We talk a lot about structuring the right entity, putting it in an LLC to protect yourself from liability. Your on-site security is every bit as important as that. Protecting yourself from a financial perspective, we do that on a large scale with entities. We do that on a small scale with things like smart deadbolts and alarm systems and cameras, right? So stay on top of that stuff. Keep good records, whether that's you or whether you need to hire somebody. If like me, if you're bad at keeping records, hire somebody that's good at it and have them do that, right? So keep yourself secure. Now, one of the other things, we have, you guys have heard me talk about this property that we're working on, this 13-plex in Ogden, Utah. We call it the Purple Gym. It's become a long-term hold. It was going to be a fix and flip, but we realized it's on the federal and the local historical registries. We get a 20% tax credit on both Fed and state tax, as well as property tax from the county by holding onto this building for longer than 5 years. That's adjusted our strategy, right? I want to take advantage of a 20% tax credit on $3 million. So we're holding onto this property long-term. Some of the things that we did to this property to help improve the value of the property is we created other profit centers other than just rent, right? We put solar on top of the aluminum covered parking stall. We put solar out there. We got rid of all of the need for natural gas. We got rid of the gas heaters. We got rid of the gas stoves. We put electric in everything. So now the entire unit is running off of the power that it generates itself. Well, we can charge for that. The tenants aren't renting the solar panels. I own those solar panels. So they can rent power off those solar panels by paying me. So we charge an extra $90 to $110 a month as a flat fee that they pay in addition to their rent for power. I'm now the power company, and that's a source of income, right? So Airbnb, you can do a very similar thing, obviously with different methods, right? Get creative. So one of the things that Tyson came up with that I thought was brilliant, and huge pat on the back again, Tyson, is that one of our units, one of our Airbnb units, we were Airbnb the top and the bottom separately. But then we had this big covered parking thing that was just sitting there, right? It was outside next to the house. The previous owner used it for their RV storage. And Tyson's like, dude, we can get on. I don't remember what the platform was, Tyson, if you want to share that with everybody.
It's called Neighbor, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. If you have a space like a garage or an RV space or a big driveway that someone can put their boat on, you can use Neighbor as the Airbnb for storage spaces, and people will pay you to put their stuff there.
So there you go. There's a second. Thank you for sharing that. So there's a secondary stream of income, right? You can rent out the garage separate. Why does someone who's coming to stay at your house need an RV garage, right? And if they want to rent it out, they can hop on Neighbor and rent that out at the same time. Excuse me.
We've had somebody, his RV has been parked at this property since I think February of last year, and he's paying $60 a month for his little space. Not a lot of money, but hey, we'll take it.
But it's every little bit, right? And this is why we talk about scaling, because yeah, $60 a month. Why am I worried about it? Well, you figure out a way to do that on 100 different properties. Now we're talking about $6,000 a month, and that's something that's worth doing this little tiny extra thing and adding just one little process. It's going to take you 5 minutes to set up on every property that you do, and then it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. The money just shows up in your account, right? So that's something also to consider with everything, right? I mean, maybe excuse me, I need some water. Excuse me. So you want to be careful, because you also don't want to get bad reviews. For example, you might think about doing with a pool. If you're in an area where they just kind of expect the pool to be included, they may get upset if you're charging them extra fee for the pool. But you could include the pool and then charge a pool cleaning fee of $20 a stay, right? So now you're getting an extra $20 just as a pool cleaning fee, right? It's smart to add management fees. It's smart to add cleaning fees on top of that nightly rate that you're charging. Don't just absorb that cost. Everybody's adding these fees. So make sure that you're adding your cleaning fees and you want to be smart about it too, right? Someone sees something for $300 a night and they're like, hey, I want to stay there one night. So they go to check out and they're thinking it's going to be somewhere around $300, and all of a sudden it's $1,200. And it's, oh, well, there was $300 a night plus $600 in fees. Okay, that's not going to work, right? I actually had that experience where I was trying to book an Airbnb to stay in, and I thought it was going to be $1,200 for our stay, and it ended up like they wanted $5,000. And I'm like, this thing isn't worth $5,000. I'm not going to do it, right? So you don't want your fees to get higher than your nightly rate, but at the same time, it's a great way to make some extra money, because someone who's expecting $300 a night, but then there's an extra $120 in fees. Well, that makes sense. You got to clean it after I come stay. You've got to wash all the sheets. You've got to clean the pool. You got to do all those things, especially in these COVID times. Makes sense. I'll pay the extra $120, right? So utilizing those fees. Now, getting creative with them as well, right? If there's something that you've got on one of your properties that's unique, that shouldn't be expected in every property. Like, for example, maybe there's a sport court or batting cages or a miniature golf course. You can put the golf clubs to the miniature golf course inside of a locked locker with a keypad on, right? And give them the keypad if they pay the extra $50 to be able to use the putting green per stay, right? Or whatever the case might be. Just get creative with it. There's other profit centers that you could be capitalizing on. And when we're getting into the Airbnb space, now we're starting to talk about hospitality, right? So this is a whole other business outside of just real estate, right? That we can now start taking advantage of in that hospitality area. So, those are all things to consider as you're looking at getting into your your Airbnb properties here. Okay.
Hey,
So
Mitch,
yeah, let's open it up to questions.
do you have a list of when you are getting a property ready to be used as an Airbnb, not necessarily one that you just, you purchase specifically for that, but maybe one you're going to use down the road. Do you have a list of things that you should be buying to have at the Airbnb that maybe you wouldn't, like when I was speaking to the girl at Home Haven, she said that they had specific sheets and they had specific towels and they had, a list of things that they would use for the ones that they manage.
Mhm.
Do you have that list, or do you have a list of your own of things that have worked and things that we should have in an Airbnb?
Mitch does not have that list, but I have that list. I'm happy to share it with you.
I do not have that list.
Thank you. Give him my email,
welcome.
please.
I'm actually going, I actually have your email, Charlotte. So I'm going, oh, wait, are you Charlotte? Coach Road, Charlotte Road. Yeah. I'm going to put a link to a Google Drive document so you can all have that. How's that?
Sounds good. Thank you. I'm wearing
Bill?
sunglasses.
I saw
I
that,
had a-
Bill. That was perfect.
I had to have a laser on my retina, so I'm wearing sunglasses in the middle of the dark. So
Oh,
that's why I'm not on video.
I saw your camera
Gotcha.
come on for a second. I was like, you look very tropical right now. I'm jealous. No, we so to kind of expand, I mean, yes, I don't have the list. Tyson has the list. Lauren has the list. We use Lauren as the manager on every one of our Airbnbs. She has a guarantee on stuff. So if something gets stolen, if something gets stained, if something gets broken, she will replace it as long as it's on her list, right? So we use her list because why not? I don't want to replace stuff. I'm not that picky. I'm not staying there. So yeah, use your list, Lauren. A lot of property managers, Airbnb, short-term vacation rental property managers are doing that now. So in general, to get that list, first reach out, interview, and pick your property manager that you want to work with. I mean, they're all going to be amenable to a certain extent of talking to you, even though you don't have a property yet, right? But I'd be very clear. Look, I've got this property in mind. I'm looking to buy it. I just kind of want to have an understanding of what it is I'm going to need to buy in addition to the house. What am I going to need to buy to put into the house? So Tyson will be sending you that. And a great way to do that, guys, for anybody else that's looking for it, is interview your property manager. Again, Lauren Havens is great. I'd recommend her. Tell her I sent you. And she's got her own list, but step one is property management. So good question. Any other questions? Okay, we're getting close here, so it's up to you guys. We can keep this thing rolling. We're in that window where if there's no questions, we'll call it a night. But if you guys want to keep going, we'll keep going.
I have an announcement to make, by the way. Something that I think it's information that you will all like to know. I'm gonna share my screen with you just to show you something. Where is it? Okay. Share. Can you all see my screen? Oh, wait. I am actually. Tyson, how is your Ogden jungle coming along? Michael, yeah. So Mitch and I are in a flip that I call the jungle flip, because when we got it, it was covered in the jungle. The vines and the trees were growing inside the house, and it was a mess, right, Mitch?
Is that the Ridgedale one?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I call it the jungle flip, and everyone knows it. Everyone who knows me knows it as a jungle flip.
Jungle flip.
Jungle flip. So yeah, it's going. We've had to deal with the city with permit issues, but as Mitch has made pretty clear, sometimes things come up. They just gotta roll with the punches. But it's coming along, and we're still on track to have it done in the spring. And I'm excited for it.
Yep, it's going.
Let's see.
I'm excited for your announcement. What's your announcement?
I want to show it to you actually. Stop share, because that'll be a lot easier. It's related to the moratorium on rents. You know what I'm talking about?
The moratorium?
The moratorium. The moratorium, that's the word. Yep, the moratorium. And I was on a call yesterday that was doing a little training, and let's see. Allow, join. And they showed us a website that I think it would be good for all of us to become familiar with, because this website has this website has data about the moratorium. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this can help us prepare. Now, there are lots of renters, he was saying, in the country who haven't been able to pay their rent, and so research. I was reading some research yesterday from this very same website, which shows that it's cheaper for the economy in general to pay people's rent, cheaper than it is to kick them out of their house and have them be homeless, because then as a homeless individual, they would exhaust more resources than they would if we just paid for their rent. And so that's kind of where that whole ideal has been coming from. And sorry guys, trying to share my screen. I can't figure it out right now without making this person a host. So I'll just tell you. If you guys want to, you can go to nlihc.org. That will probably be easier.
ihc.org. Oop.
nlihc.org.
nlihc.org.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, you
National Low Income Housing Coalition. This is the website that has a lot of information that can help you that can help you make decisions around real estate investing. And the announcement that I wanted to make that Mitch is excited for is on the top of the screen, there is an orange bar that tells you how much time is left until the federal eviction moratorium ends. And what he was saying yesterday on the call is that when that happens, it would not be surprising if suddenly a lot of foreclosures begin happening. If suddenly there's an abundance of houses, well, not suddenly. If an abundance of supply for real estate becomes available in a very short amount of time. At least in Utah right now, there's not a very big supply of houses. So what he recommended is that there's 26 days left until this federal eviction moratorium ends. If we get to that point where it ends and we see all these houses become available and we start thinking, oh, I need to get on this, but you don't know how yet, that means that you might be late for the party. The time to prepare for these strategies for strategies that you can use when this happens, the time to prepare for that is right now.
Absolutely. No, that's huge. And I know certain parts of the country are feeling that harder than others. I haven't had a huge problem with people not paying rent over the last year, but it is out there. It does exist. So the government has definitely been taking a lot of steps. We may not all agree with certain steps they've taken, but they're definitely, moving in a direction to protect landlords and tenants in these situations. So I think that's a great resource, Tyson. I'm looking over this tonight.
Yeah, I would recommend just like the guy that was telling us this yesterday. His name is Mark Kohler. Mitch, you know him.
I know Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that told us this yesterday. He's like, "Hey, everyone go to nlic.org." And then he's like, spend time on this website, get familiar with it, learn what you can from it, and then make your investment decisions. Use this to make some investment decisions.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And there's always opportunities created through stuff like this, right? If you look at it with an opportunistic eye of, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? There's going to be opportunity that's created because of this situation, right? And in a lot of cases, there's opportunity not just for us to go out and have a win, but also to create a win for someone else, a family that, that's in need. So, for example, and I'll end on this note, Section 8 housing. Is Section 8, is that a nationwide thing or is that a state thing? I think it's a nationwide thing. Section 8 is low income housing. It's government assisted living. And it covers, it's where the government will cover a portion of the tenant's rent because their income is lower than a certain threshold. Usually that's the poverty line for your given state. So it's probably a state thing. But looking into this type of thing, right? By buying low income housing, and one of the areas that we work in often here in the Utah area is Ogden. Ogden has a lot of low income housing and a lot of low income people that live in the city. So we can create opportunity not only for ourselves, but also create housing for these people who need landlords that are willing to come in and create that kind of situation for them. So we work with the state, we go through the whole process to get the paperwork done, and then we purchase low income housing. There's a benefit to us. It may be more paperwork, it may be a lot of red tape, but the benefit is for half of the rent or 60% of the rent or 80% of the rent, it's the state government paying us, right? So the state is a great tenant. The state's always going to pay their rent and on time, right? So we don't have to worry about, well, they didn't, their boyfriend got sick and they couldn't go to work for 3 days, right? All the excuses that we hear, from tenants. 80% of it is guaranteed, right? So those types of opportunities, not only creating a win for ourselves, we're creating a win for others as well. I had just closing thought here. I've got a student, a lot of you know Ken. He's got about 25 years of experience in real estate investing, and he manages a few of his own properties, and he tells me every time I talk to a new tenant, I let him know I know exactly when you're going to be having when you're going to find hard financial times. I know exactly when you're going to be finding hard financial times, and those are the times of the month that you need to pay me. Those will always be the times when grandma died, when you got fired, when your boyfriend dumped you or your girlfriend dumped you. Those are the times when you're not going to be able to pay me. And you know what? It's not my problem. You need to understand, you owe me the money. And I love that. And Ken's got that personality. I'm too big of a softie. I could never say that to anybody. That's why I don't manage my own properties, right? But always those times when people are going to be facing hard times is when they owe you rent. So make sure you protect yourself against that. Management companies are a great way to do that. Guys, it's been awesome getting to see all your beautiful faces in this new year of 2021. I'm excited for all the things that we've got planned for this year. Some big things happening, not just in my personal portfolio, but also in the education that we're creating, the content that we're creating for you. I have been, just one last final plug of the web series, Flippin' Sexy RE. That's Flippin' without a G. Flippin' Sexy RE on YouTube. Our second episode is already out. We're dropping our third episode. They're educational. I walk through the property, the problems that we have, the strategies that we use. You guys get to see real life strategies, things that you've been learning from me for the last however long you've been a part of this, that we're actually applying on real life scenarios. So make sure you jump on, check it out, and guys, we'll see you next week. I love all of you. Thanks for being here today. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. See you later.